Welcome back. It is time. It is the final power rankings of the year. I'm going to have some fun with this one because why not? 1 through 32, not a ton of movement. I am wearing Columbus. Columbus had a good week. Not a great week. A great week would have meant they're in the playoffs, and I'd have the flag up there for Columbus and everything. I'm not rolling out using the Columbus flag when I talk about their season. But that being said, again, it was a good year. Not a great year. But Boston didn't have a great year either. They're number 32 on the board. The Boston Bruins, it's been quite the drop for them since the trade deadline. It is one of those drops that happens after the trade deadline that makes the team look a lot worse than what they are. I do expect Boston to be more competitive next season. If you're a believer in Don Sweeney, the good news is Sweeney's sticking around. If you're not a believer in Don Sweeney, the bad news is Don Sweeney's sticking around. So either way, we'll see how things go, but Boston, number 32, second week in a row. Number 31, dropping one spot from last week, is San Jose. So San Jose finishes out the season with 20 wins. I was hoping for more than 20, but we got to 20, so advancement there. I think they had 19 last year, so they're, 20 years away from making the playoffs? That's a depressing way of looking at it. We won't look at it that way. A lot of progression by San Jose, similar to what I'm expecting from Boston here. You got to get some young guys in the lineup. You got to get some good prospects. And so San Jose has a ton of those, and they may very well win another draft lottery. And if they do, adding Schaefer to what's already a pretty impressive young crew, if that happens, San Jose, they're going to be really dangerous as soon as next season. At the very least, a lot of fun to watch. But at number 30, also a lot of fun to watch, moving up one spot, Chicago. Hey, they won out to finish the regular season. They won back-to-back games. Bedard started looking good. I think putting him on the same line as Nazar helps. And I do think they help each other. I think they complement each other. It's good news for Chicago fans going forward. I think they're going to be a lot more competitive next season. I'm very, very optimistic about the future for Chicago. Number 29, Nashville, still in 29th. Still same spot as last week. For Nashville, of course, we know the story that they were expected to be a good team this year, and they weren't. There were some that knew that right away. Some that called it before the season started that Nashville's additions didn't necessarily add up. And, for those people, they were right. For the others, myself included, we were wrong. And so Nashville's going to have an interesting summer where they try to prove they can turn things around. It does sound like that's what Barry Trotz is going to try to do, is make the right changes in order to get Nashville back into contention for a playoff spot next season. Number 28 is still Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Flyers, I'm going to be interested to see who their coach is next season. Did they keep Brad Shaw around? What are they going to do? I did not pay a lot of attention to the hockey news portion of things today. I didn't do a news video today. I did all of the series previews today, and I thought the news can wait until Saturday. I can do a nice news video on Saturday. But I haven't heard anything out of Philadelphia in terms of the direction they're going to go and what the plan will be. But really, in all honesty, just, make sure that Michkov is happy and get the right line mates for him. And you know what? Philadelphia is, I think, closer than what the standings would tell you right now. Probably closer than where they are on the power rankings right now. It doesn't feel like they're that far away from being a pretty good team. Number 27, also in the same spot as Seattle. So not a lot of movement in this row. Because honestly, at this point in the season, there had to be a reason for movement that I felt like was related to the in-game and what I was watching. And I had to take into account, so are they playing their top roster or are they not? And kind of take that into consideration as well. But yeah, Seattle takes number 27. I think they had an okay season. That being said, not really closer to the playoffs than last season. And so that's a conversation that needs to be had about how to fix that little problem. Number 25, also, same spot, Anaheim. I apologize. I know, these all look pretty much the same, but it's almost a full week. So I figured, we'll do a final power rankings. I'll get them posted on the morning when the playoffs get started, because once the playoffs are started, power rankings don't really make a whole bunch of difference. They really are a regular season item. The Anaheim Ducks, pretty good regular season for them. A lot of strides taken by those young players. Anaheim is going to be a very fun team to watch next season. So, for Ducks fans who've suffered through some pretty lean times, I think things are about to get a lot better for them. Number 25, same spot as last week as well as Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Penguins are a team that will be very interesting to watch this offseason, in that if you believe that this team can get back into a playoff spot next season, they're going to make moves this summer, you would think, to add, and I do think that's what they're going to try to do. I get the feeling that's what's coming. Crosby's not getting younger, Malkin's not getting younger, neither's Letang. So I get it, and there's enough pieces there. The one thing I do wonder about is goaltending. I will be doing a video looking at goaltending. I usually do a video on like the rotation of goaltenders and who may be in or out next season. It doesn't look like it's going to be a great goaltending market. Probably not a lot of guys changing places, but we'll take a look at that from Pittsburgh's perspective. It does feel like they need that solid number one goaltender. So that's the bottom row. Not a lot of movement. I think the only ones that moved are Chicago and San Jose. Yep, but the movement shows up in the next row, with the Islanders dropping 2 spots to number 24. See, there's movement. There's movement. There's justification right there for finishing this season. I would not want people to not know where the teams ended up at the end of the season. That would just be crazy, because I did update them every day, so why not? The Islanders are in a very interesting situation. I did see, I will admit I saw an article today. I did not click on said article about how the New York Islanders offseason, what's really, overshadowing everything else is what is going to happen with Lou Lamoriello. How is the management position going to be handled? How much longer is he going to be there? This kind of thing. There are questions to be answered there. And for the New York Islanders, what is the plan going forward? Number 23, dropping 3 spots from last week, is Buffalo. Rough finish to the season for Buffalo, but I guess if you want to find reason for optimism, there's reasons there. There are some very good players in Buffalo. There are some excellent players in Buffalo. It just hasn't added up to results. And Kevin Adams has to figure out how to get the results, or Buffalo makes a change and maybe it's not Kevin Adams. Either way, Buffalo's number 23 this week, dropping 3 spots from last week. Number 22, moving up 2 spots from last week, the New York Rangers. The Rangers finished the season kind of strong, and I thought Zibanejad getting to 20 goals, good. I saw a lot of criticism towards Zibanejad. I'm not going to pretend that it's not valid, because it is. It's 100% valid, but I am a fan of Mika Zibanejad. I hope next season he, rediscovers his touch, whether that's in New York or whether he ends up somewhere else. I think New York's probably going to make some changes in the offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some major changes in the offseason. And so, yeah, the New York Rangers, number 22. And I hope Sam Rosen has an incredible retirement. Number 21, dropping 3 spots from last week, Vancouver. Yeah, I stayed with this puck. This is honestly a logo I wouldn't mind the Canucks using on a third jersey at some point in time. I think it's fun. But yeah, dropping 3 spots, Vancouver. Rough finish to the season for the Vancouver Canucks. It was rough. A lot of guys out of the lineup. I did hear Demko today saying that, he's going to be glad to be going to an off-season healthy. I just cross my fingers and hope that means his knee's not bothering him. That he's that healthy and not just he could play, but he's not 100%. So I'm really hoping that the Canucks figure this out in the offseason. If you have not seen Quinn Hughes from that, because I was going to watch that part, right? If you haven't seen Quinn Hughes with the exit interview, I feel bad for Quinn. I do. You can see like the weight of the world's been on his shoulders this season. Come on, Vancouver. You got to straighten this up. Fix this up. You don't want to see Quinn Hughes leave. Number 20, moving up 1 spot from last week, is Detroit. Detroit had an alright finish to the regular season. And I would say that Detroit, with the right moves in the offseason, should be a playoff team next year. But I said that last year. And I'm pretty sure I said it the year before. If Yzerman's not on the clock, he should in some way be on the clock. Because the Detroit Red Wings, all of the pieces are there. It's not completely dissimilar to Buffalo. You can see that there's a lot of good young players there. It's that cohesive, that consistent, that thing you look for a team that's in the playoffs just doesn't really seem to be there with Detroit. Number 19, same spot as last week, is Utah. Utah doesn't move up. They don't move down. The Utah Hockey Club, successful first season in Salt Lake City. And I'm really looking forward to year 2 because I'm looking forward to the team having an actual name. And if Utah Hockey Club wins the vote, I'll cry a little. Just a little. I want Mammoth. I want giant tusks. I want mammoth. That's what I want. We'll see if that's where things go with Utah. And I would think they should reveal the name soon. You're not going to want to reveal that during the Stanley Cup final. You're going to want to reveal that soon, I would think. We'll see. Number 8, because I already know. Number 18 dropping one spot from last week, New Jersey. Jersey had a tough go of it at the end of the season, and I did see one post on the series preview between Carolina and New Jersey, a Devils fan saying, "Oh, they're gonna turn it on, and they're gonna win this series." I think they said in 5, and I thought, man, I love that optimism. And before I had a channel, I would have said delusion, but it's not delusion, it's optimism, because I know it's heartfelt, and so I think to myself, you know what? That'd be kind of fun if New Jersey did get it together in the playoffs, and they could pull through. One thing to keep in mind with the playoffs is you only have to worry about one team. So only one team at a time you're playing. It is a very different setup than regular season. So maybe it will work for New Jersey. If it does, optimistic guy, you got it right. Number 17, moving up 6 spots to number 17 is Columbus. 6-spot jump. Absolutely love how Columbus finished the season. They finished just short of a playoff spot, and the chanting of CBJ and the chanting for Jet Greaves, and just there is something there in Columbus that I really feel like they can build on this summer. And not only that, but maybe, and I'll throw this optimism in there too. Maybe with the tragic events with losing Johnny Gaudreau, combined with this really strong run they've been on, and the fact that the fans were clearly really supportive, maybe there'll be some hockey players who otherwise might not have considered Columbus as a potential destination for their career. Maybe they'll look and go, you know what? I kind of want to go and help this team next year. Maybe we will see some free agents saying, I choose Columbus because of everything that happened around the team and just how close they got to the playoffs. So there's some good, healthy optimism. There's the bottom half of the board for all you fine people on the internet. Now let's get into the top half. Number 16, dropping 2 spots from last week, Montreal. Consistency. The Montreal Canadiens did not have that this year, but it's remarkable. They're in the playoffs. I think it's great for hockey that the Montreal Canadiens are in the playoffs once again. I say that as a Boston fan. I am always thrilled when Montreal at least reaches the playoffs because they're always entertaining in the playoffs. Even the year that Boston swept Montreal, that was a very entertaining play. Okay, that might have been entertaining for me as a Boston fan. Might have been less entertaining for Montreal. But I thought that was a very entertaining series. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what Montreal does against Washington. And if Washington wins the series, so be it. I think Montreal's going to give them a real run. The thing is, which Montreal team shows up? The one that looks really confident and they've got all the energy in the world, or the one that looks kind of tentative and inexperienced? And so that's the question mark I have with Montreal right now. They dropped for a reason this week. Number 15, up 1 spot from last week, is Minnesota. The Minnesota Wild, I don't think many people are giving them a chance against Vegas. I think it was 20% of the vote went to Minnesota last time I looked, in terms of what Channel Vote thinks. But if they could pull it off, if they could upset Vegas, I think there would be a lot of very happy hockey fans to finally see Minnesota win a series. There are also those who dislike Vegas, so, kind of 2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing. But Minnesota has had their struggles in the playoffs. They haven't won a round since 2015. It'd be nice to see them win one. Because I feel kind of responsible since the channel came into existence in 2016, so my bad. Moving on to number 14, dropping 5 spots from last week, is Dallas. I want to be optimistic. I wore Dallas jersey for that series preview, but they have to be better. And so when I'm seeing stuff today, and again, I didn't click on the articles, but I'm seeing stuff about, Dallas will be fine. Everybody's making a big deal over the losing streak because they looked awful. And now they're going to be without Jason Robertson for this first round. So, I mean, getting Sagan back is one thing, but losing Robertson's another, and I hope this is wrong. I really hope, and obviously power rankings don't necessarily matter come playoff time, as I've stated, but I really hope that Dallas was playing possum. And because their spot was already decided, that they just decided to stop playing. I have my doubts, but We'll see. Number 13, moving up 2 spots from last week. That's how you finish the season, Calgary. Much like Columbus, and there is definitely some synergy. Calgary, Columbus, the two franchises that mourned the loss of Johnny Gaudreau. Both of them were expected to not be very good, and both of them barely missed the playoffs. And I would go as far as to say both of them kind of look like fun places to play right now. Calgary has it going on. A lot of debuts in their final game there against LA last night. And, Parekh looks like he's the real deal. And we'll see where his spot on the roster is next season and how many of these young guys come in. But it has to be an exciting time for the Calgary Flames organization and for their fans. Because even though this year's draft isn't considered great, they're still going to get a middle of first round draft pick. And they've got some good young players coming in, and they've got a lot of cap space this summer. So we'll see what happens. Number 12, dropping 2 spots from last week, the Capitals. I'm not as worried about the Capitals as I am about Dallas, although I have very specific concerns with the Capitals. Logan Thompson not being there. The goaltending has not been good enough since Four Nations. And no Protas. So we'll see if Protas comes back early on in that series. They need Alexi Protas. This was a team that really had to work extremely hard to get the record they had earlier in the season. It did fall off for them a bit late. So we'll see if backing into the playoffs affects them or not. But Washington backed in just a little bit. Number 11, moving up 2 spots from last week, Florida. The Panthers going into the playoffs. I feel like when they won the Stanley Cup last year, I had them top row. And when they went to the final year before that, I think I had them 10th. Florida does tend to be kind of up and down towards the end of the season. If Matthew Tkachuk comes back and he's healthy, if Bobrovsky can channel that energy from last year's playoff run, Florida can repeat. They absolutely can. I do think Tampa has a really good chance of knocking them out, but it's going to be a fun series. Battle of Florida is always fun. Number 10, dropping 2 spots from last week, Carolina. The Canes, the reason for the drop is simple. I don't know how much I trust Kochetkov or Anderson right now. Just neither of them look overly sharp, and that can change come playoffs too, right? Maybe playing against New Jersey, maybe if the Devils continue to have their own struggles, really all you need is a couple of periods of, very low shot totals by New Jersey, and it could give a goaltender some confidence, especially if they have a lead. So we'll see. But Carolina drops a couple of spots this week, and they're still ahead of the team on the power rankings that they're going to play in the first round, but we'll see how the second round goes if they do get out of the first round. Number 9, moving up 3 spots from last week, Ottawa. Sens look good going into the playoffs. They do. Even though that game against Carolina didn't mean anything, and I understand it didn't mean anything, getting Tkachuk back in the lineup's good. Ullmark got a win there. Ullmark's record's been really good. They look confident. Being down in a game didn't bother them. I know it didn't matter. I understand. But just the body language around the Ottawa Senators right now, they look like a confident bunch. And so I think this could be an interesting playoff between them and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I may have done a little bit of a dance in this room when Toronto clinched the division and I knew we were getting the Battle of Ontario. I may have then run out of the room and told my wife, oh my gosh, we're getting the Battle of Ontario and the Battle of Florida. This is going to be awesome. So that being said, that rounds out those 3 rows. Now we get into the top row. Not a lot of movement here, but moving up 3 spots to number 8, the Oilers. The Oilers wrapped up the season really well, even without Draisaitl. So even with all the injury concerns and everything, they look good. So right now, the Edmonton Oilers look good. The team they're playing in the first round has yet to show up, though, and that's the problem. I do think the team that they're playing against in the first round, being the Kings, are playing better than they are right now. And they're going to have to get at least a split in LA. You have to get that split in LA and then hope to win a couple at home because LA's been so good at home. You have to dent that reputation a little bit in games 1 or 2. Just because if you go home down 0-2, LA's got all kinds of confidence, and then you have to win both games at home, right? So that's number 8. Number 7, same spot as last week, Tampa. The Tampa Bay Lightning, I didn't view that game between them and the Rangers as really much of anything. And there's definitely some subjective to all this. There always is some sort of a subjective to this, where I have to say, all right, well, and with Tampa, I still think they're fine. Kucherov winning the Art Ross Trophy, good for him. Hedman is overlooked for the Norris, which is weird because Hedman had a great season, but it's there. And as I mentioned in the preview for Tampa Bay, Florida, which I don't think that one hasn't gone live yet, but I mentioned in that preview that Vasilevsky, if not for the season Hellebuck had, Vasilevsky would get a ton more attention for just how amazing he was in the second half of the season. All right, number 6, same spot as last week, St. Louis. The St. Louis Blues going into the playoffs with a pretty strong run. One of the best teams after Four Nations. The argument could be made by record that I think they were number 1 actually in record, which means they're one of the best teams. And they're not going to be an easy out in the first round. I think that series between them and Winnipeg is a toss-up. I really do. I think that series is a toss-up, especially if Holloway can play for St. Louis and if he's healthy. I think that makes the series much more difficult for the Winnipeg Jets, which is fine. I'm old enough to remember an era where the Stanley Cup champion usually had their toughest challenge in the first round. That was early 90s. I want to say early mid-90s, you would see a team that won the Stanley Cup get really pushed in that first round. So if St. Louis Winnipeg goes to 7, the winner of that may very well go on a nice little run the rest of the way. Number 5, and dropping one spot from last week, so very minor change, and that's the Colorado Avalanche. The Avalanche, one of the things that I did see, and it's just a headline, so I didn't click on it, just about how Nichushkin feels like dialed in, and no concerns with Nichushkin. Nichushkin, it's not always a physical thing that's taken him out of the playoffs, so I think the really important thing is just, attend the games, do your practices, and all the off-ice stuff. Just kind of leave that alone. But the Colorado Avalanche look formidable. I really like what they did down the middle at the deadline. I think adding Charlie Coyle was fantastic. I think Brock Nelson was a good addition as well. And they completely revamped their goaltending during the season. Absolutely insane what Colorado was able to do this year on the fly. Number 4, moving up one spot from last week, the LA Kings. There was definitely some comments about my letter grade for the Kings being a B+. The B+ was for a simple reason. They're not very good on the road. Yeah, I know. They've got this great home record. Oh, they're fantastic at home. I get it. I get they set records at home. But their road record is concerning, and that's why they got a B+ instead of an A. That's all it was. Very minor thing. But a B+ is still good. And here's the thing. The letter grades don't matter. They have no effect on how the off seasons. There's no GM that watched that video and said, gave us an F. Well, I'll pack my stuff and go because the owner's going to see that and I'm out of a job. So, number 3, same spot as last week, the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas is going to be tough for Minnesota in that first round. No doubt about that at all. And whoever wins between LA and Edmonton, if you get Vegas in the next round, that's going to be tough because Vegas has home ice, right? Home ice advantage is important. I think most important probably to LA and Vegas of the teams in the first round. That fortress can be a bit intimidating for other teams to play in, and Vegas is kind of a bit of an intimidating team at this point in time. Which brings us to number 2, same spot as last week as Toronto. There was a lot of discussion about whether or not Toronto was too high up. And I knew that was going to happen last week. I thought, Toronto's number 2. And I went back and forth on it because I knew there were people that were going to argue. But looking over the numbers, looking over all the teams, I couldn't find a reason not to have them number 2. And this week, same thing. They played well this week. They did. The Toronto Maple Leafs look really good going into the playoffs. And if you took the Maple Leaf off their jersey and made it just some random team and all the stats are there, I think people would see them as a contender. Because it's the Maple Leafs, because of the last 8 seasons and what's happened there, I think it's colored the opinion of the fan to the point where we just assume Toronto's going to screw up and go out in the first round. I think the Battle of Ontario is going to be fantastic, and I'm just excited to watch it unfold. I think it's going to be great. Which brings us to number 1. It's still Winnipeg. Yep, Winnipeg is still number 1. So now the pressure's on. Winnipeg was easily, in my opinion, the best regular season team this year. And their consistency was remarkable. Even their mediocre stretches weren't bad. And they've got fantastic depth. We know they have the goaltending. They have the blue line as well. And now it's a matter of taking all those pieces, putting them together, and winning a championship. And in the event that Winnipeg goes out early in the playoffs, that's not going to be enough. There's a lot of pressure to succeed come playoff time for Winnipeg right now. And we'll see how they respond to that pressure. It is different. It is different when you are seen as the top team. I wanted to say the favorite, but if you look at the betting odds, they're not the favorite. And maybe for Winnipeg, they should take that and put that on all the bulletin boards, wherever they are. Like, hey, we won. We're number one in the league. Nobody seems to see us as the team to beat in the playoffs. Use that. Use that as like the reason that you've got kind of a chip on your shoulder. And a team can ride that chip on its shoulder a long way. Vegas, their first year, was that chip on their shoulder. I think the year Washington won the Stanley Cup in 2018. St. Louis in 2019. And definitely Tampa in 2020. You have to have sort of a bit of an attitude. You have to kind of have this feeling of, hey, we kind of got overlooked. We got hosed. Whatever, however you want to look at it. And take that anger and channel it on the ice and get yourself to a championship. So we'll see how it turns out, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. The power rankings are done for another year. I did see some complaints in the thumbnail that I did for the final grades, that I just did the mock-up of an F for Toronto and an A++ for Dallas and all that. Obviously, I thought nobody's going to take this seriously. They did. I got told that was clickbait. So there are a lot of people who would not know that I used to. At the end of a power rankings video, I would switch all the logos around. Before I had a puck board, I would switch the logos around, and the last minute of the video was me BSing about why one of the worst teams in the league belonged first and why one of the best teams in the league belonged at the end. And it fooled some people. It did. So that, it's not clickbait to me. Because the title of a video matches what the content of that video is, it to me is not clickbait. But I like to have fun with the thumbnails. I like to, and I know what the perception is from people about how I feel about certain teams, so I like to lean into that a little bit. And that's what that thumbnail was about. All right, no more power rankings from me until summer, which means that my Saturday nights will now feature me actually getting some sleep. And thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.